Hello everyone, welcome to my shop. In this video I'm going to be doing a how-to video on doing the rear differential fluid on an R35 GT-R. Car's obviously already in the air. I've already pulled the rear tray out from underneath, so that's really all you need to do to get into this step. I have my wheels off. You don't need your wheels off. Biggest thing is you do want the car level, and it does actually help if the car has been driven relatively recently to get the fluids a little bit warmer and to make sure everything's good and stirred up. So I'm going to get everything in place and we'll start doing this video.
To do this fluid change, you do not need a lot of tools. You will need a torque wrench, about a 50 foot-pound capable torque wrench, a relatively low torque wrench. You'll want a ratchet. You'll probably want an extension or two. You do need a 10 millimeter Allen socket. That's what both the fill and drain plugs are. A light's helpful. So that's all the tools you're going to need. In addition to the tools, you'll also need 2 liters, 2 quarts of 75-140 differential fluid. If your car is under warranty, you will want to use the Nissan fluid. I'm going to be using AMSOIL's Severe Gear, fully synthetic. You're going to want a differential oil pump. This is actually something you can get from Harbor Freight, and although I don't normally recommend Harbor Freight tools for the $10 that this thing is, it has held up and worked extremely well. It screws right onto the bottle, and you'll see it later. You're going to probably want a set of disposable gloves just to deal with the fluids. Differential oil is extremely unpleasant. It smells terrible. And you're probably going to want a couple paper towels just to clean things up. You will also need both a fill and drain plug replacement seal. They are one-time use crush washers. I will list the part numbers in the description in the video for anyone who wants to do this job.
As I mentioned at the start of the video, this does help if you have driven the car recently. It will stir up the fluids and it will also heat it up a little bit so it will drain more quickly. If you have done that step, obviously watch your exhaust as you are loosening your drain plug. Drain plug is under here. It is a 10 millimeter. Alright, that ended up being in there a little tighter than I expected. At this point, you got to kind of watch. You're going to want your drain pan underneath. When this comes loose, you're going to want to be real careful. As I said, this fluid smells absolutely terrible. So I'm going to let this drain, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about filling it back up. So while this is still draining, you can clean off your drain plug. One thing to note, these are magnetic from the factory, so you do want to do a good job and make sure you clean off any debris that is on the kind of magnetic end here. The other big thing you need to make sure of, as I said, there is a crush washer on here. You can see it right here. You do want to make sure that does come off of your drain plug. You want to make sure it doesn't get stuck up to the differential itself. So I said we're going to replace this later. I'm going to go ahead and toss this aside and finish cleaning up this drain plug. As I continue to let this drain, because I didn't have the differential warmed up enough, I'm going to go ahead and work on getting the fill plug removed. The fill plug is right up here. It is also a 10 millimeter. I'm on the passenger side of the vehicle. This is just forward of your axle shaft, just right in line with it. So same 10 millimeter ratchet. This one I have already gotten loose, but this one you obviously will not have to worry about the fluid coming out. And when this one does come out, same thing as with the drain plug. There is an aluminum crush washer on here that we will need to replace. Once again, I'll have the part number in the description underneath the video. When you're fairly satisfied with the amount of fluid that you've drained out, you're going to want to take a clean rag and do your best to clean the sealing surface. You want to make sure that you don't drag dirt from your differential up into the sealing surface, so just kind of be careful of that. As I said, you just want to do a good job, make sure it's good and clean so you've got a good seal with your new crush washer. So I've got my crush washer, my new crush washer installed on the drain plug. I've cleaned the magnet off, I've cleaned all the threads off. So I'm going to go ahead and get this, wipe this one more time because a little bit more fluid is coming out. But once you do that, and start hand threading this back up into the differential. Torque spec on this is 39 foot-pounds. So I've got my torque wrench here already preset. Once that's set, that should be all you should have to do for that seal. So at this point, I'm going to move a few things around and we'll go ahead and get ready to start filling this back up. If you've never had to try and pump fluid up into a differential or a transmission before, as I said, one of these really simple gear oil pumps that you can pick up from Harbor Freight works extremely well. It comes with two different length pickup hoses on it. I've got the short one on there because of these AMSOIL bottles. All you got to do is just open up the bottle, and this will literally thread right into the bottle. And the other nice part about this, at the end of the hose, it's got this little prong set up. This will actually hold the end of the hose into the fill plug so that it doesn't come out and squirt fluid everywhere. So as you can see now, I've got the end of the tube inserted in. As I said, the little barb on the end helps hold it into the fill plug. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and start pumping fluid in. Total amount needs to be, it's supposed to be 1.35 liters, depending. The spec was originally 1.55, but Nissan lowered it to 1.35, which is not all the way up to the fill plug, which is kind of what you would normally do on a differential. You'd fill it up till it started to drip out. But Nissan actually recommends that you do not do that, and they recommend you fill it up to that and then remove 200 milliliters. So I've now used up the first bottle. There's obviously still going to be a little bit left in the bottle. At this point, I'm going to open up the other bottle. I'm going to go ahead and keep pumping some more in, so give me 1 second. So I've swapped over to my second bottle. One quick word of warning: do not dump the contents of the remaining contents of the first bottle into the second bottle until you've pumped some out. I wasn't thinking dump the second bottle into the first bottle into the second bottle, and when I pushed this in, a bunch of fluid came out and made a big mess. So wait till you've pumped some out and then pour that bottle in. Otherwise, you end up, as I said, with fluid all over the place. At this point, I'm going to keep pumping in until I start to get close to about 1.5 liters in, and then I'll start watching for potential fluid to come out of the fill plug. So I'm very, very close at this point. I was able to stick my finger in, and by just dipping my finger down just a little bit, I was able to touch fluid. So I'm going to put probably one more pump or two in. That will probably bring me up to that point. Yep, so I do have fluid starting to leak out at this point. So that is completely full. So at this point, I have filled it up until it started to come out of the fill plug. Theoretically, at this point, I'm at about 1.55 liters, which was the original Nissan spec to fill this differential. At some point around 2015, Nissan did recommend lowering the fluid by 0.2 liters down to 1.3 liters of fill. The general reason for that is that older cars started to get a little bit of a weep around the differential input seal, and they were concerned that owners would consider it a leak and start raising problems. So a lot of folks have gone ahead and continued to leave it at this 1.5 fill level. I'm going to go ahead and leave mine at the 1.5 at this point. And I'll just monitor it and make sure that I don't spill any down the line. The one big risk would be is if you did overheat your differential, it could spit a little bit of fluid out of the breather. and if you are on the track, that could cause a problem. I'm not too worried about it. Enough people are driving these cars with the full 1.5 and not causing problems that I'm sure are driving harder than I am in hotter conditions. So at this point, I am just going to button everything back up. I've got my fill plug, I've got my brand new crush washer on. I'm going to go ahead and thread that in. This is only a 25 foot-pound, not a 39 foot-pound torque. So I'm going to go ahead and set my torque wrench real quick back to 25. Said this one is only 25. So at this point, that is sealed. The bottom is sealed. You want to take a cloth and make sure that you've got all your fluid, any excess fluid wiped off around the differential so that you can check for leaks later. You will want to check just to make sure that all these are sealed up after 100 miles or so. So that's it. Differential's full. I've got new seal washers on the drain and the fill plug. They are torque to spec, 25 for the fill, 39 for the drain. I have gone ahead and done the full 1.55 liter full fill, not the currently recommended 1.35 liter fill. As I said, I think that'll work fine for me in my situation. At this point, all it is just putting your rear tray back on, making sure all those bolts are good and tight. I said, I'm going to leave mine off. I've got some more work to do, and I'm going to leave my wheels off because I've got some more work to do. But thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if this video was helpful, and keep tuning in. I'll be doing a video for the front differential here soon, and then I'm also going to be doing a transmission cooler. I've got an HKS full transmission cooler that I'm going to be putting on it as well to help manage some heat on the track. So once again, thanks for tuning in.